Hello, welcome, boys and girls,
Hello.
children of all ages, to what is going to be episode 1
Of No Frills.
the No Frills podcast, which is completely no frills because we've spent zero money on this podcast so far. That will change, hopefully, once we get going. Why did we choose no frills?
We chose No Frills because of Quick Save.
Quick save.
Quick Save. No one knows what Quick Save is anymore.
I think they got bought out, but for our American listeners or people who are listening elsewhere, I know we've got some in Japan and whatever else, or we did do. Quick Save is a budget kind of supermarket in the UK, and they had their own range called No Frills.
That was appalling food. People ate purely for the fact that they didn't die, not because they liked any of the products they were buying.
The products were terrible. It was all budget, own brand stuff, and it was all very, very cheap. So you could buy like a tin of beans, baked beans for 7p.
But the big thing that they were pushing was you could get beans on toast for under 20 pence, a loaf of bread and a tin of beans for less than 20 pence.
A loaf of bread and a tin of beans for less than 20 pence. And it was always dead embarrassing if you were at school having school dinners and like packed lunches when you had
No Frills Rocky Bars.
No Frills. I remember No Frills crisps, and the packaging was all white with black writing on it.
Just like a stamp.
Just a stamp, like stencil stamp. So you could tell there was no marketing involved. There was no extra expenses spared. So it was always then embarrassing when you had to put your hand up and kids wanted to swap, and everyone would be like, "Oh, do you want to swap?" And you'd be like, "Well, I've got no frills."
No one wanted to swap with you.
No one wanted to swap with No Frills. But that is why we decided to call the podcast No Frills.
Because we're expecting this to be the same sort of quality.
The same sort of quality, no marketing, and just traumatizing beginning to end. So that's why we decided to call it No Frills. But this is episode 1 of No Frills. Simon's topping up the coffee. We've got an ungodly amount of coffee on the go. How many cups is that supposed to fit in that?
4.
There's supposed to be 4 cups in the French press, and we're doing way more than that. Black coffee, rocket fuel strong. So if you hear us, or if you hear Simon vaping and me and him drinking during the podcast, that's just the No Frills way, I'm afraid.
Nice.
It's me getting it stuck in my mustache, that's what it is. Right, so we have got some ideas. We have made some notes. I can smell that. You can smell that vape through the audio. So yeah, we've got this idea. One of which is why, where we just rant, because we live in the UK in 2018, and I feel like if you go outside for more than a minute, you've got stuff to rant about. And you see people do stupid shit, and you literally just say why and question them. So that's one. Yeah, yours is the next idea.
The next topic we're going to cover is my mum voted leave. And well, Americans know what Brexit is. They will, won't they?
Americans will know what Brexit is.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's idea came from whenever a political conversation starts, somebody always throws in the phrase, "Well, my mum voted leave," and then obviously follows that with some horrendous story about the mum.
That's it, pertaining to the fact that most people in
Over
their
the age
right
of 30.
minds probably would have voted Remain, but people over the age of 30 who are a little bit crazy and stuck on English values probably would have voted Leave, despite maybe not knowing what they were voting for. Yeah, that's another one of our features. We've also got something, for want of a better name, we're calling What in the Actual Fuck, where we just talk about random shit, which I'm guessing is going to be the actual podcast at home.
Yeah, more than likely.
But this, the one that we chose for this episode really made me laugh, so that's going in. If you could see the note that's in front of me now, it makes you smile. We democratically decided, because this was my bit, that I would introduce this section of why for episode 1. And the why is, why are we remaking everything? Why is everything being remade? And I was thinking of movies in particular.
It goes beyond movies, though. There's a lot more stuff being remade.
There is a lot more stuff being remade than movies. I mean, we have what I would consider nostalgia from our childhoods about certain things, which now are being remade. And I don't know. I think it's too soon for things like that to be remade.
It's too soon. Like usually when something's remade and you're into something, like your dad or your granddad will go, "Oh, I had that when I was a kid." But like nowadays, stuff's being remade that I can remember from when I was a kid, and that's quite scary.
It's to be nostalgic about something that I remember is hard work, and people that are younger than us. I know I train with 17 and 18-year-olds who call things that I like vintage.
Yeah.
Vintage is in my lifetime now, which is currently 30 years, and I don't think
It's horrible. It's a horrible thought.
The reason I ended up wanting to talk about this was because of a Facebook post that I read about remaking Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which isn't a show that I admit to watching, to be fair, but I remember it being on CITV when I got back from school. Do you remember that?
See, I didn't watch it. I remember the show being out, and I know a lot of people who did watch it and talk about it, but I never watched it myself.
I think the only reason I probably did watch it was probably a childhood crush on Melissa Joan Hart, who was the girl who played Sabrina and was also in like Clarissa Says It All and all those shows. Maybe I think I know too much about Melissa Joan Hart.
That does seem a bit creepy.
But I think we were about the same age. I think we were the same age. I think we were probably a couple of years apart, but now she's 50 and I'm 30. She's aged more than me now. she's well outstripped me. Hollywood will do that. And she had the two blonde aunts, and the cat that was talking.
I remember the cat.
Salem the cat talking. I remember Penn Jillette being on that show from Penn and Teller. I remember him being on that. But I just remember it being super camp.
Well,
I just remember the show being super camp and just a bit weird. And the cat was like, obviously he was male, but it was like ambiguous about this cat's sexuality, and he would say some crazy shit occasionally, which made me laugh. But yeah, how can you remake something that I remember? So that's got to be 20 years, say. If I was 10, that was 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, things like Star Trek. They've remade Star Trek into movies now. And they keep making new ones.
It's different, though. There's a valid reason to remake Star Trek, I
What's
think.
the valid reason to remake Star Trek?
Well, space goes on forever, so there's infinite shenanigans they can get up to.
Infinite Star Treks.
Yeah.
But that's, because obviously every season of Star Trek.
Well, the difference is, though, they're making new Star Trek now that Patrick Stewart's involved in.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a remake, it's more like a continuation.
It's a continuation.
Whereas
it's the first time.
This Sabrina thing, they're just remaking the show for new people.
Because every season, so you have the original series, and then you have like Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, all those ones, Voyager. That's all different.
Yeah.
Different times.
It's different. Like
it just goes on. It's like a different people in the same space.
There's only one Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
There's only one Patrick
She's not
Stewart.
a teenager anymore, so it's not a continuation. They're just remaking it.
Can you imagine if they remade it with her in it still? Like she's just old with like 4 kids, single mom, and she's lost her powers. She can light a cigarette by winking, and that's it. This also came out of superhero movies. I think we're both not fans of superhero movies.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And I have one caveat to that. Although, is Judge Dredd a superhero? It's a comic book.
It falls under that umbrella, I think.
Under the umbrella, which kills me. But the 2012 Dredd was fucking amazing. It was like 3D, slow motion. It got the woman from Game of Thrones in it.
I've just avoided it. I've put it under the whole comic book thing and just avoided it like the plague. I'm not a fan.
The only reason I watched it is because a drummer of a band I was in asked me to watch it because he thought I'd like it. And it is pretty fucking dark. It is pretty crazy, but it's not Avengers. Not that I would know what Avengers is like. I know what Batman's like because I've seen Batman and I don't like it.
I did like the old Batmans when I was a kid, and I think it's kind of all right to be a kid and be into superheroes. Like nowadays, you've got like 40-year-old women going to watch Captain America taking toy shields with them.
I've seen a lot. Yeah, this is that the nostalgia for me is what makes it weird. But what makes it, there's bits like The Incredibles. I was too old for The Incredibles when it came out.
Yeah,
and now Incredibles 2 has come out, and I'm way too old. But there are people who are just younger than me in their mid-20s who are nostalgic about that remake, and I just can't get excited about that.
No,
because there's people saying, it's not a kids' movie. It's made for adults now because the people that watched it originally as children are now adults.
Is that a remake though, or is that just a continuation?
I'm lumping that in superhero, even though they're not really superheroes. The Incredibles, I'm lumping that in there.
When you say superhero, I think Marvel, DC, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman.
Yeah, I watched one Spider-Man movie. No, 2 Spider-Man movies. The one with Tobey Maguire.
Yep,
that's the original movie in it.
Yep,
and the one whatever the remake was after that, in 2012, I'm talking about. There was like one guy who, instead of like shooting webs, he actually built the web shooter things. Like, and it was.
See, I've not followed that. I thought all the ones that come out after that were continuations. So they're remaking a film that come out.
Yeah. So yeah,
whilst,
yeah.
Like whilst we've been.
Well, they've lived out 3 remakes of Spider-Man. The Avengers now is like the Hulk is Mark Ruffalo. He's like plays the Hulk. But before that, it was Ed Norton.
Yeah.
It was a film where Ed Norton was the Hulk. Not that I ever saw it, but obviously they didn't like it because they didn't cast Ed Norton to be in the new Avengers. It just seems weird to me to be this like remaking stuff that we remember.
If that's the case, Spider-Man's been remade twice whilst we've been alive.
Yeah, there are 3 different Spider-Mans in the last 15 years. There have been like 3 different Spider-Mans.
That's mental.
It's not that I could name the actors apart from Tobey Maguire. But obviously then there was characters that are in that, like in one of the movies, there's Venom. And obviously then Venom is about to come out now with Tom Hardy, who is in another universe as Bane. And we just there you go. There's Tom Hardy as another character. Not that I'm knocking Tom Hardy. I quite like Tom Hardy, to be fair. He's good as Bronson.
I was going to say Bronson. What a film that is. That's a superhero film.
Yeah, Bronson to me is a superhero film. I tried to get my girlfriend into Bronson. I mean, I think she'll watch it because of Tom Hardy and him being partially clothed. Well, to be fair, he's naked in most of it.
I was just going to say, yeah, he loves getting his kit off.
Getting his kit off and rubbing himself in butter and other bits and pieces. But yeah, no, I think I'll get her to watch that because of that. We were talking about him the other day, you know. And aside for American people, there is a theme park in the UK called Alton Towers, which is close to us where we are. And it's probably the busiest theme park maybe in the UK. It's certainly one of the most famous.
Definitely.
Yeah, if people don't know where we live, if we say it's near Alton Towers, they'll know where that is because they've been. But there was a theme park crash there.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. Yeah.
About 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, where a girl lost her leg because 2 carts collided, I'm guessing. I can't remember what happened.
Yeah.
But weirdly, Charles Bronson, who was then like Charles Salvador, wrote her a letter to say, I'm sorry about you losing your leg, and gave her artwork. She sells artwork now.
Yeah.
And he was like one of the first people to write her this letter. And I just thought that was proper weird. I was trying to explain that to my girlfriend for whatever reason. I can't remember what the reason was, but that came up with Bronson. I think we have to watch Bronson now as a superhero movie.
Bronson. It's so good.
I really like it.
Very misunderstood guy. Absolute animal, but very misunderstood.
Yeah, am I right in thinking that he only did like a couple of things wrong initially? Like
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been the
Yeah,
initial
I
crime
think he was-
wasn't 40 years worth.
No, he was put in for robbery, I think, and then he's just become an absolute animal inside, and he just keeps getting his sentence extended. Like when he's due for release, he just lathers himself in butter and goes and starts a scrap with a load of prison guards just to stay in.
See, I
I was
heard
like,
that some of it wasn't butter as well. Some of it was like shit.
Yeah.
Just coat yourself in human shit.
Anything to stop someone getting a grip here. I was watching something about him the other day, and he's married. Well, he says he's married. I think he's engaged now.
He's engaged.
Just for some bird that started writing to him, and she like, just goes and visits him, and they're having this relationship like while he's in prison, and she has like an hour a week with him. Like it's just mental. Like it's absolutely mental.
Do you know what? I've just remembered why we were talking about Bronson. It's because there's a show on Netflix about this guy who does black tourism. You know, these places that are dead dark.
That's what. I think that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and this guy goes to this really creepy museum, and the guy who owns the museum is a little bit twisted.
Yeah,
and he mentions that he knows Charles Bronson,
that's right,
and the guy doesn't really believe him.
And he goes and meets his girlfriend.
He meets Charles Bronson's girlfriend,
and then he rings him.
And they ring him on speakerphone. Yeah. Okay. So why are we remaking everything? I want to lump in with this as well, which is going to be slightly bizarre. I want to lump cover versions in with this. You're not going to like that. I can see by the look on your face.
Big fan of cover versions.
Big fan of cover versions.
If they're done properly, yeah.
I think we're talking about different kinds of cover versions. Only because we are currently in the centre of Derby. For those not aware of where we are right now. And from here, there are several bars that have open mic, which for us, both being musicians, would be pretty sound. But actually, what happens is, at those places, it ends up being a lot of white people and acoustic guitars. And the choice of song is always the same. I must hear Wonderwall by Oasis, Half the World Away by Oasis, and Superstition by Stevie Wonder every week in different versions.
See, the Stevie Wonder thing I get, but you're speaking to someone from Manchester. So the Oasis thing, I'm fully behind that.
You're fully behind covers of Oasis?
Yeah.
Acoustic covers?
Yeah. If done properly, it just takes me back home.
The bit that the ones that I enjoy. Okay, here's the one. Not that I enjoy Oasis because I really don't like Oasis, but Half the World Away is in the playlist of one of the buskers uptown. One of the homeless guys with a guitar who plays Half the World Away and does an amazing version. So what happens is at the top of the street, he's got it on, playing it when all the drunk people are about busking, and then all the drunk people sing it down my street. So I get the after effects of Stevie Wonder, of Oasis. So I get, caterwauling and drunk women trying to sing on key. But the Stevie Wonder one really gets me because I think everyone knows Superstition, don't they?
Yeah.
Everyone
knows that song.
Everyone knows Superstition. And I think what happens is that white people think that's like a gateway to being groovy and cool and play that. And I don't think they've got as much groove and aren't as cool as they think they are.
You're very careful what you're saying.
Be careful what you're saying. Only because I know that original song is amazing.
Yeah.
Like 16 tracks, most of it's Stevie Wonder. It is
it's
really, really cool.
Bang on.
But then
it's a song that one bloke and an acoustic guitar doesn't do justice to.
You can't do one bloke and acoustic guitar.
You're either Stevie Wonder singing Superstition or you're Derek from Derby crucifying Superstition. There's no in between with it.
Yeah, I think most people are crucifying it. We used to do it as a part of a wedding band that I was in. That used to be in our set list. But we would bookend it in a medley with Play That Funky Music.
See, I hate medleys.
Yeah, I know. I'm killing it.
I don't like medleys at all.
And then it would go into James Brown. So you'd got those three songs together. So you've got like Play That Funky Music into Superstition, into I think it was Get On Up, all in the key of E. Because it's the key of E, you can just get away with it.
It's a medley though. Medleys are poor. It's lazy set list writing that is.
Do you not think it's creative to try and find ways to sig you into them?
No, because like whenever you see obviously I never saw your band, but whenever you see a cover band doing a medley, it gets to the point where there's a dead technical middle eight or dead technical solo, and they change the song into something else, and they just do verse chorus, verse chorus, verse chorus, and anything that's a bit of a challenge to play, they bypass by medleying out at that point, and it just winds me up.
To be fair, our guitarist was pretty shit hot. He was really good, but yeah, the medleys for me would kill it. We used to do impromptu ones sometimes, like not at a wedding or whatever, but if we were playing like at a pub and we were just having good fun and we were playing a song, we try and get from that song we were playing into the next song, just impromptu live, trying to feel it out and trying to get from one to the other, which is kind of hard.
That's a bit different. There's jamming and there's preparing a medley and practicing these three songs stuck together. I'm just not a fan of it.
So preparing it makes it uncool.
I don't think it's about being cool. I just don't like medleys. I just think it's just lazy.
It is hard work, but it's only because those are all in. Well, I think Stevie Wonder's probably in E flat or something like that, and people tune it up. You can't play along with it. I don't think the original recording. I'm sure it's like half a step down or something like that, and people just tune it up to be E.
Been playing in grunge bands for the past 10 years, so all my guitars are in E flat anyway.
Everything's in E flat anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, that can go in Y. For me, that can go in white guys playing Stevie Wonder.
What cover versions is it okay to play? Where's the line?
I want to hear something different than the original. If you take it and go a completely different direction with it, say if it was like Smells Like Teen Spirit, there's a Patti Smith version of that, which is amazing, and she's singing it just acoustic guitar, and it's a bit waily and a bit crazy, but it doesn't sound like. So it doesn't sound like someone
based
playing,
on the original, but changed and done again. So it's been remade.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, remade. It's been a remake. What other cover versions do we like? It's always the string instruments that get me. The string instruments. In my head, when I hear remakes, I hear ukulele, a little bit of twinkly piano, and I think of like YouTube covers. That just kills it for me. Yeah,
but it's like when you've got like a cover band, then like you've played in a cover band.
Yeah, we played a cover band.
Did you used to change them round, or did you play it by the book?
We would change them round. We would do our own versions of whatever it was. Sometimes the structure would change. Sometimes some other bits would change. But I think there's 5 of us, and there was like 5-way harmonies and 5-way vocals, so you could always do fun stuff and jam around and have a bit more fun with it than, because we were like a fun band. Like we were just like having a joke and smiling and happy. It wasn't like we were super serious. suited and booted. Do you know what I mean? Even at weddings, we was having fun and that. So it wasn't just, I don't know, it wasn't just what you're thinking. Because it is cheesy.
Yeah.
When I joined the band, their press shots were all in black shirts with blue ties, all dressed the same, and like really badly photoshopped into a poster. Which is, we quickly changed that. So they actually had a uniform. Like you wore that black shirt and the blue tie, and they would wear that to gigs. I can't. Yeah, that's too much, man.
I'm all for bands having a look, but I don't know, like a uniform all matching. It's a bit Green Day.
Green Day's another one. I can't stand Green Day.
Black shirt, red tie. Look how cool we are.
That's it, and you have to wear that. And one of the members is on edge because he hadn't tucked his shirt in, or he's wearing jeans instead. So he's tucked it into his jeans instead of trousers.
The rogue.
That was the drummer. That was the drummer. He was the cool one.
Yeah, when you have bands like that as well, everyone's there like suited and booted, and you've always got a drummer with a shirt and tie on and a pair of shorts.
Yeah,
like just ruining it, absolutely ruining it.
No one can see his bottom half
until he stands up.
To be fair, cover bands. I know we were talking about this earlier, but one of my favourite things to look at is cover band and tribute band posters. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. When you've got, I'm guessing, gentlemen of older years that aren't quite technologically sound, who are playing creative director with their band's promo shots and things like that, and the photos that go with them are hilarious.
The photos are amazing. It's always three blokes in the bar with their arms folded.
Yeah. Always in front of brick walls.
Nicknames written underneath them in Comic Sans.
Comic Sans.
Mad Mike on the drums.
Flaming text.
Flaming text
as a GIF. But
there's always someone with sunglasses and one of them flame shirts as well.
That's it, sunglasses, flame shirts, and they put like the flame in writing as a GIF, but then they can't figure out why the GIF doesn't move because they've uploaded it as a JPEG.
Because they've printed it.
Yeah, they've printed it and they wonder why it's not moving like in Harry Potter. That's one of my favourite things is looking at those and figuring out, because they must get loads of gigs, because I see the same few bands. Obviously they're booked in advance, but surely not on the strength of the poster.
No.
You would never book that band, would you?
No, absolutely not.
What would you book that band for? Like that's pub gig 101, innit? That's not a wedding.
I think the majority of these bands that you're talking about, they generally playing in pubs, which is their local pub. They're not being paid. The bar are on a winner because they paying a band to come and play, and all it's going to cost them is 4 pints each.
That's it.
That's why they're getting gigs.
That's why. That's it.
And they're playing songs that every other 40-year-old bloke in the pub wants to hear. Buzzcocks covers.
They're also 40, and they know what 40-year-olds want to hear. But that is one of my favourite things at the minute to do. And also because it's the summer holidays, and there's a fair in town, and my second favourite thing to do is to look at the cartoons and paintings that are on the fun fair rides and how crap the paintings are compared. It'd be like Jasmine from Aladdin, but she's like doesn't look anything like Jasmine. Like one eye's facing the other way.
Yeah.
Well, that is one of my favourite things to look at. I say, do you reckon they're bad on purpose so that the likeness isn't the same, or do you think it's someone who really wanted the likeness to be the same and just couldn't nail it?
I don't know. Probably a bit of both. I think it's just carny folk doing it themselves rather than getting a proper job done.
And they're always hand painted, aren't they?
Yeah, always.
Always hand painted. But they are my favourite things to look at. Just looking at those characters and you're trying to guess the character, and it'll be like Sylvester Stallone as like Rocky or as Rambo. But he's like, he did like for some reason Sylvester used like the darker skin tone, so he's like well darker than he is, or like they've used some completely different colour on some random bits. It's like he's Rambo, but he's blonde now because they've run out of black paint, so they've had to use something else. I don't know how we got onto this point. How did we get onto this point?
I don't
know. Band posters, covers, bad covers, and why are we remaking everything?
I want to go back to how earlier on you said you weren't happy about things being remade, but then you made a living from being in a covers band, like remaking other people's songs.
Under duress, yeah.
So there's got to be some situations where it's acceptable and some where it isn't. Like, why are you playing songs that have already been done that people know?
Because I think that was just me selling out.
Selling out.
Because you can play a gig in an originals band and not make any money for the exposure, which is another bugbear. Or you can play Kings of Leon songs for 1,500 quid at someone's wedding and split it 5 ways. So for an afternoon's work, you get 300 quid each by playing someone else's song. You don't even have to write the song. You just play the song.
Well, I think that's the same thing for these television producers. Do you want to take a risk making something completely new that's going to go straight to Netflix and no one's going to watch and we're going to make no money? Or should we remake something that's already out there?
But wouldn't people, I don't know, at the meeting, wouldn't you just say, right, I've got something new or something old? Wouldn't you rather make this something new? For sure.
It's not gonna, if it's not going to put money in the pocket, no.
That's why I like things like...
At your band meeting when you had this wedding, did you sit down with the people that were paying you and say, do you want us to play all the songs you know, or do you want us to play something new that we've wrote?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a different... Yeah. But they aren't creative like content people. They're like a couple at a wedding that want to hear the Beatles as their first dance. They tell us what to play kind of thing, and they would choose off our set list. But that's why I like things like Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I like that show on Netflix, even though it's on Netflix now and has been monetized a little bit, because that was Jerry Seinfeld's own show.
Yeah.
And he just put some GoPros in a car that he'd rented and then go and pick up his mates and just talk about it. No script, no like characters or anything like that. And then just go and do it. That's without the people saying, I've got an idea, we're going to remake this. It kind of that's what I like about Netflix, is it bypasses the suits that would have no business whatsoever telling Jerry Seinfeld what content he should be putting in his show. Like, he's funny enough, he knows what's going to go in this show.
Yeah.
And I think it's without those people. Those people in suits are the ones that are responsible for 3 remakes of Spider-Man in 15 years. So men in suits are the evil ones.
I think it's people that buy into it are just as at fault, though. People will go and watch 5 Spider-Man films all telling the same story.
Because they are all the same story.
If people didn't go and watch it, they won't make it.
Yeah. That's a vicious circle, in it. If you don't want to watch it and you opt out.
But then where does Sabrina the Teenage Witch fit into that? No one's watching that anymore.
No one's watching it now. And the people that are older now aren't going to watch the remake. It's going to be the younger kids now that don't realise. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they just make it, and even if it's bad, people will go and watch the original. They could remake Sabrina the Teenage Witch for 15-year-olds now, and if it is crap, they're going to make money off the old one because people are going to go back and watch the old ones.
Yeah.
So watch the old ones get monetized instead. It is those people. That's why I think it's funny. That's why we like podcasts. That's why we listen to podcasts, because there isn't that middleman telling you what they think is funny. If there was, if you had people like Joe Rogan, if that was a syndicated show, 3 hours of talking, there would be a man at the back with a clipboard telling you what you're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why. Because that speaking of Jerry Seinfeld, he got in trouble for the first series of Comedians in Cars because the people he chose for the show in the first season were like 10 white guys. But they were comedians. I guess that's maybe the biggest demographic or whatever. But he just picked 10 of his friends who just happened to be 10 white guys. And he got panned. And obviously, there are people of colour in it. Obviously, they got all these people later on, all these comedians later on. There's tons of different comedians, different styles and everything. But he got panned. He got panned for having...
But is that his fault? Like, is he racist for not having any black people on? Or is it the person who's noticed it?
Yeah, I mean,
that's thinking about that all the time.
On, but just not the first 10. The first few, I guess if you're starting a show, you just get your friends on.
Yeah. And
you just go, right, you're free today. Yeah, we're going to go and have coffee in this car.
But who notices that? Like, why is that a box that's got to be ticked?
Is that, who is at fault there? Who is it? Is it the box ticker? Is that the same person that's asking for the remake? Is it the same guy? Does there have to be an equal amount of everybody from every race, every gender, of which there are several now? Do you have to incorporate one of each one? Because, we're 2 cisgendered white men.
That need to check our privilege, apparently.
Yeah, we need to check our privilege. We probably do need to check our privilege. But does that make this show? Do we need to find 2, like a Noah's Ark of each, to make it worth it, or to make it work for network?
Surely not.
Isn't that what happens on like comedic radio, particularly in America? You've got 2 male hosts, and there will be a woman in there whose job it is to go no and laugh at the guys. Surely that's a format.
Yeah,
there has to be that format.
Absolutely.
I think I've ranted. That was a rant, wasn't it?
That was a rant.
That was a rant. I probably shouldn't have ranted.
No, it's good. At the same time, though, there's things that I would like to see remade.
Such as?
It depends on like the medium, I think, because like TV shows and films, you attach them when you watch them. You remember it. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of nostalgia with it. There's a lot of like investment in.
It's emotional.
Yeah, exactly. But then you think about other things like that with technology advancing, benefit from being remade, like computer games. I mean, there's a lot of remade computer games now, which is going too far. Like they're remaking games that were brought out sort of 3-4 years ago, which is a bit of a joke.
Yeah, remastered.
But then you think like games that were like out on the PlayStation 1, which was really limited, and then they're doing remakes sort of nowadays, which are sort of really good, really cool. People who sort of played them originally are going to be able to play it again, sort of without going back and thinking, oh yeah, this is crap, and I remember it being really good. And you've got like new people who are sort of getting into it, like people, like parents sort of buying it for the kids because it was sort of what like they grew up with playing. So I think for things like that it works, but then for like things like TV shows and films and stuff, sort of not so much.
Yeah, so I think we agree on there's got to be a certain amount of time that passes.
Yeah, there's got to be a certain amount of time, but there's certain things where absolutely no amount of time is going to sort of justify it.
Agreed, that probably makes sense. Although I remember, did you ever watch Aliens, the second Aliens movie on Blu-ray or anything like that? Have you ever seen the remakes of those? Not the remakes, but the remasters.
No, I've seen the original ones, like when I was a kid.
The original ones was like VHS tape, and like you can see the background set, like particularly when the ship is landing. Obviously, that's a model.
Yeah.
And there's a painted canvas background. But on the Blu-ray remasters, you can obviously tell that. So you can almost see the string and you can see the paint strokes in the background. So it kind of degraded the quality. But I think people just if you love it enough, it doesn't matter.
No, I think with some things, like Red Dwarf, like I absolutely love Red Dwarf. When they remade that and they sort of like, they did the new series and they sort of upped all the special effects and everything, everyone was in uproar because it didn't look shit.
It was the charm of the rubbishness.
Exactly. And then all the ones they've made after that, they've gone back to being really low budget. See the strings, see the wire sort of thing.
That's quite funny. To make it worse, to make it what people remembered.
But like that was sort of wasn't improved. Like when the good like revisits that they did to Red Dwarf, they sort of purposely limited the effects and everything to match the time that the first ones were made. And I think that was quite successful.
Okay, so you can remake it in the vein of the old one, and it would be successful.
See, like going back to Star Trek as well, like the old Star Trek, like Next Generation, like obviously the special effects are pretty naff compared to nowadays, and then you've got all these new films, these amazing special effects, and it's just not as good. Like when you watch Star Trek, you want to see, you can clearly see where someone's hit pause and edited somebody out. That sort of stuff's what makes it.
This is going to throw a spanner in the works. Star Wars is the other way around. I like, if you're watching like,
don't say you prefer the new ones.
Episode 3, if you're watching it, that huge lightsaber fight where all the Jedis are getting killed off is crazy. And then the next movie is them with like coloured sticks. Like there's no flipping, there's no somersaults, there's no...
Yeah, but nobody likes the episodes 1, 2, and 3. No, they're poor films. I'm not a fan. Like a massive Star Wars fan, but like 4, 5, 6, fantastic. But 1, 2, and 3, I wasn't into at all. And I was a kid when they come out, so I was prime age to be sort of sucked in by it all. And it just didn't do it for me.
Because even that, they've managed to link that newest film up to the beginning of episode 4.
See, I thought that was wicked. That was pretty cool. But if you watch them back to back, there is a considerable drop. But I still love the charm of the old ones. Like that's what sort of like I fell in love with when I was a kid.
It's like that bit where he's walking through the corridor and he's mashing people up. He's actually just fucking everybody up.
Yeah,
and that with modern effects looks amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next movie is...
he's walking through a cardboard corridor.
Yeah, he's walking through a cardboard corridor. That's quite funny, to be fair. I do like that bit.
I won't have a bad word said against Star Wars, though. Apart from the first, episodes 1, 2, and 3, so you want about them.
Loud.
Anything after that, untouchable.
That's like the tropes that come from all that stuff. I prefer Star Trek to Star Wars, which is blasphemy as it is. We was a Star Trek house, but it was on every day. BBC Two used to watch Next Generation every day.
See, I like both, but Star Wars for me is the one. I didn't get into Star Trek till I was a lot older, though.
Yeah, I was the same with Star Wars.
To be fair, I only got into Star Trek sort of from meeting you, sort of past couple of years, sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't think I actually watched any Star Wars until 2011. Like no Star Wars. I'd never seen a single movie until 2011.
How did you get that far in life without seeing it?
Just because it had gone so far without me wanting to see it, and I knew what happened in every show, in every movie. I knew what happened. It was just it's pop culture. You know all the characters. You know what happens. But when I was skating and I broke my wrist and I couldn't go anywhere, I was like, right, I'm going to hash it out now. I'm going to watch them all, and watched them all twice in the different orders. So I went 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, and 3. You can just skip over them. You don't need to. The text at the start of A New Hope sums it up. Like that's all it needed. You didn't need it. Like
you could have saved yourself a lot of money.
You don't want to. The first film, what was it? 2 hours long, and an hour and 40 minutes of that is just talking about international trade deals. Like
International trade deals.
You don't need to know that.
Politics.
As a kid who wants to watch people getting slaughtered with lightsabers and like laser gun fights, like you don't want to know about trade treaties and all that sort of stuff. It's just pointless.
But Ewan McGregor was good.
Was he though?
I quite like him as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, Liam Neeson, he's got no business in Star Wars.
I'm not even a Liam Neeson fan, so he's got no business in being in anything for me. But in Star Wars, that's such a weird character, wasn't it?
But pod race as well. What's that about?
The pod racing.
That adds nothing.
That killed it off for me when that pod racing scene happened.
And it's blatantly Formula One sounds over the top.
I was done. I was out. You can't.
It doesn't need it. Doesn't need it.
It doesn't do it for me that bit.
It's like they realised that this film there was nothing happening in it. There was no action.
Yeah.
Let's just stick a race in the middle for no reason whatsoever.
That's basically what.
Like, that whole part on that planet could have just been summed up with: "There's a slave boy. Oh, we've rescued him. Done."
Yeah.
That's all it needed. Not an hour watching this kid prepare for a race that has no impact on the rest of the film.
It's the preparation and building the ship or whatever, isn't there? And then him actually racing, and the race seems to go on for way longer than the race actually would go on for because they're just trying to get all this exposition out. And him and this like the fake rivalry with that alien.
It's just poor. Sebulba.
Yeah, Sebulba. The fake rivalry that's trying to engineer that rivalry to be in it because you wouldn't care. You wouldn't give a shit otherwise.
No.
That's so bizarre.
It's just forced in.
I like the tropes that come from sci-fi. Like I like that if you were watching Star Trek and one of the main members was going down with the 6 blokes all wearing red shirts, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You knew that the guys in the red shirt, and that just becomes pop culture.
Yeah.
You know that them red shirt ensigns are just going to get killed off immediately, and then your famous member of like cast is going to stay.
Yeah.
I just love little bits like that are just they make it to the popular culture, and everybody knows what they are.
Yeah.
Like if you were a girl and you wore your hair in those buns, everyone would say that was Princess Leia hair.
Yeah.
Just because it's just so ingrained that I love that bit. Especially because when we was at school, we were saying about this before we came on that it was not cool.
No.
To like Star Trek in
all.
the early 90s.
Anything like
cool.
that though. Sci-fi, even like going back to your comic book guys, superheroes, anything like that. They were the kids that got pushed down the stairs in school.
Yeah. I didn't really read a lot of comic books, apart from like the Beano. That wasn't superhero comics, but I watched Star Trek every day. I watched Star Trek. It was on BBC 2 at 6 o'clock. So you finished having your dinner and you could watch an hour of Star Trek. And that was not cool then. Like you could do that now. And people are, it's quite fun. It's on Netflix. You can binge watch episodes. Yeah. And that would be cool. But now that's not cool. It's backwards.
But then you see the people who used to obviously have a go at the kids that were into that. You see them now. You bump into someone from school who like was a bit of a cock in school.
Yeah.
And he's sort of in a nightclub with a Joker t-shirt on.
That's it, yeah. There'll be girls who would never look 2 ways at you at high school and they're dressed as Harley Quinn for Halloween.
Yeah.
Because a movie came out.
Yeah.
Recently.
But that's because of stuff being remade.
Right. I think that's it. I think that's actually it. After how many cups of coffee is this now? 6?
7, 6.
6, 7 cups of rocket fuel coffee. That is the first episode of No Frills Podcast. You can catch us on Lucky Star Radio, 4th Friday of every month. We'll put the details all up on Facebook. We're going to take some promo pictures and try and get all that sorted. So by the time you hear this, hopefully we'll be
established.
We'll be organised. So yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Probably worth saying on the radio.
Yep.
There'll be a bit of music sort of interspersed with it. It's not just going to be a solid hour radio show of us talking absolute nonsense. There will be a bit more there.
There'll be filler.
We'll be the filler.
We'll be the filler for the music. We'll see. Anyway, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.